Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Daly City Council this Monday, April 8th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, can we all please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we get a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Ms. DiGiovanni.
Present.
Ms. Manalo.
Present.
Mr. Sylvester.
Present.
Dr. Rod. Mr. Buenaventura.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. For those of you wishing to address the City Council on any item on the agenda or under public appearances, oral communications, please complete a speaker card at the entrance to the council chambers and submit to a staff member as early as possible during the meeting. All right, first up is our presentations. The first presentation we have is proclaiming the week of April 7th through the 13th as National Library Week. Here to accept the presentation is Mike Pacelli, and here to give it out is our Vice Mayor, Glenn Sylvester. Mr. Pacelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council members.
CEO, our new CEO, Ms. Mabilan, right?
Yes,
Executive Director. Executive Director. Okay, it's a pleasure to see you. I didn't expect you. Well, anyway, I'm here to provide a proclamation, and if you can bear with me, I'll do my best. I'm going to read a few of the whereas clauses. Everyone is very important. I'm just going to read a few, okay? National Library Week, April 7th through the 13th. Whereas libraries and librarians build a strong community through transformative services, programs, expertise, and whereas Daly City's libraries held 544 early literacy sessions, after-school activities, classes, workshops, and special events with a total attendance of 18,148. And whereas 48,036 diverse members of our community have library cards.
Say that again, Glenn.
36 members of the community has library. That's pretty good.
That's
our
fabulous.
population in Daly City is about 100,000.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Wow, so almost half. Oh, okay. Oh, Marion, how are you? So, there are more folks joining every day, and Daly City's librarians continue to fulfill their role in empowering all in our community who seek information and access to technologies, providing 50,000 public computer sessions and 342,000 connections to high-speed wireless internet last year. And whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week from April 7th through the 13th. Therefore, the Mayor, Ray Buenaventura of Daly City, along with the rest of the council, do on behalf hereby proclaim April 7th through the 13th, 2019 as National Library Week in Daly City. All residents are encouraged to visit the library this week. I have to look around, all of you now, okay? And really. And Mr. Miller, I will come pick you up and take you to the library. I come every week. Okay, great. And explore the wonderful library resources available at your library. Signed and sealed by the Mayor and the City Council. Thank you so much for everything you do. Mr. Pacelli?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Please feel free to...
Get in this picture. Get in this picture.
Okay. Okay. Feel free to say a few words, please.
Let me just say thank you to the Mayor, City Council for this great honor for this week. It's very important, as you said in your proclamation, Libraries Build Communities. And that's one of the beauties of the Daly City Library System. 48,000 people have memberships, library cards. It's really a testament to Daly City folks and their support for the libraries. So again, thanks a lot for your continued support, and we look forward to more of the community becoming library members and users. Victoria?
And we just wanted to invite all of you and all of you out here. We're having a great event tomorrow. We are launching our Daly City Libraries Take a Lending Leap with a Laptop event tomorrow. Oh yeah, Angela, hi. At 2 o'clock at Westlake Library. So there'll be like some refreshments and just a party to celebrate. So we'd love to see as many people as can come. And Angela, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, come on up. So we just gave them the proclamation, and we are here to really honor both the library in general, the Library Commission, and the DCPLA, which has done such a tremendous job. And Ms. Lugarta, as the chair of the Library Commission, please say a few words on their behalf.
So the theme for Library Week, it's Library Week, is that libraries equal strong communities. We know that the library is a sanctuary for all ages and provides abundant resources for its patrons. And on behalf of the Daly City Library Board of Trustees and its employees, we'd like to thank you for this proclamation, and we look forward to working closely with you to improve the current situation with our 4 libraries. Thank you.
Excellent. So, let me, before you leave, let me say a few more words about libraries and your commission in particular. So I have been watching with great interest in how your commission is progressing, how you are developing ideas amongst each other, and the involvement that you guys have had already in the community. I have bear witness to how you are going to all the libraries, your commissioners, and you are getting input and feedback from both the staff and our citizens that are using the library. I thought that was a tremendous idea. And to me, it shows real initiative and a desire to change and improve upon the libraries for our community. Similarly with the DCPLA, I mean, you guys really have been, as I've said before, the gift that keeps on giving to Daly City. And under your leadership, I know that you're going to be successful more and more. I know you had recently a luncheon where it was very successful, and you were funding a lot of needs. And so your board is to be commended, Mr. Pacelli and everybody else, for doing such an outstanding job. We can't do this without you, and we want to make sure you understand how grateful we are as a community that your service has just been incredibly tremendous. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, let me leave it to my council members if they want to say anything. Mr. Vice Mayor?
I think I've already said enough already. However, I do recall the previous event at DCPLA where I was asked to speak, and I'm going to quote a couple of lines from what I had made mention. You know, our libraries are very, very important, and the term has been coined third place, which is very, very important. Who can tell me what first place is, where you visit? Anybody?
Home.
Home, absolutely. And if you're a child and you're still, what's the second place? Going to school. And if you're an adult, going to work. That's second place. What's the third place? Our libraries. It's a place where people meet, and not only our libraries, our supermarkets and places. So let's all keep that in mind. It's a very, very important part. Thank you so much for everything you continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Ms. Bonello.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to extend a thank you to the DCPLA and also to the Daly City Library Board of Trustees. I think it's a real amazing effort to really reach out to the library users and extend your time to hear their thoughts, and also the continuous generosity of DCPLA. It's just really amazing to see how much you show the care and also provide for the community. It's all ages that go to the library, and really essential place for young people to old people, and it really a gathering community space, and also the thoughtfulness around where the dollars go. I said it before around technology, and you guys are having an event, and it's really providing for those that don't have the access to technology, and that's huge, especially nowadays. So thank you very much.
Go ahead, Ms. Giovanni.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I just want to say, we know that the Library Board of Trustees has been tremendous. We've always had energy before, but I don't think it's been to this level. It has been a lot. But now, a new decade has come, and I see that the movement is that way, with also the hard work that Mr. Pacelli has put in, and the board, and now we have a new executive director. And yes, they did a lot of work before, more work ahead, but I see a direction that we can all come to the table. And the library staff, I noticed that as well, especially at the poetry when we did the Women's History Month. It was great because everybody was interactive, everybody was excited. We had department people coming from Human Resources, council members, community members. They felt engaged, and I know that that's going to continue and breathe a new life in our libraries, and look forward to working. And the mayor and I are on the subcommittee, and look forward to having a meeting with you in the near future. And thank you, President of the Board of Trustees, and thank you for your leadership. And please thank the others when you see them, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up is, under presentations, is the LPGA Mediheal Championship. Here to make a presentation is Patrick Healy, who's the Senior Director of Octagon. Good evening, Mr. Healy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for having us. Really excited to be back in Daly City for the second LPGA Mediheal Championship. Last year's inaugural event was a tremendous success. We had a fantastic winner in Lydia Ko. Lydia has won at Lake Merced actually 3 times now, so there must be something in the water here in Daly City. First off, I do want to thank a couple members of the City of Daly City, City Manager Sean Amalpi, Chief Hensley, Captain Christensen, Captain Gomez, Lieutenant Fox, and the entire Daly City Police Department, Chief Building Supervisor Val Mandapat, Department of Public Works Director Richard Chu, and North County Fire Authority's Clyde Preston. Without their tremendous support, this event would 100% not be possible. As I said, we are extremely lucky to be back in Daly City for the second LPGA Mediheal Championship, being held at Lake Merced Golf Club, April 29th to May 5th. I will say, speaking on behalf of the LPGA Tour, this is one of the best venues. They play all year. Pat LaRocca and his team at Lake Merced do a tremendous job, and the professionals feel extremely lucky to be coming back here for the second event. It's such a great town, such a great city, and everybody supports the event so well. The event will comprise of 144 LPGA Tour professionals based on the area, based on the facility. We will get the majority of the top 100 in the world to come to this facility. The week before is an event in Los Angeles, so many of the girls will come up Sunday afternoon, early Monday, and stay throughout the week. Live global television coverage will be on NBC and the Golf Channel from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. locally. We call out 6 to 9 p.m. On the East Coast, as that is a fantastic window to be on, especially for the LPGA Tour. One thing I do want to add related to television coverage is we do work with NBC and the Golf Channel to ensure that the event is marketed as being live from Daly City, not live from San Francisco. And we'll continue to stress that as we lead into the event, just due to the nature of the event being one in Daly City and knowing that the importance of the partnership is there and that Daly City gets the rightful ownership rights to the event being here. One thing, another note I did want to call out is we've increased the purse to $1.8 million this year, up from $1.5 million. It's a strategic move on the LPGA's part, is in that they're trying to call out purse equity amongst the PGA Tour and LPGA Tour, and we'll continue to drive that home. Just a quick overview of the schedule of events. Sorry for the small font. Everybody needs to put their glasses on. As mentioned, our tournament week is April 29th to May 5th. We are closed to the public April 29th and April 30th. We open up to the public starting on Wednesday, May 1st for our official tournament pro-am and some practice rounds on that day. Gates will open to the public at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, May 1st. And then our official tournament, official LPGA Tour event is held Thursday, May 2nd to Sunday, May 5th. Open to the public. Those 4 days, gates will open at 7 a.m. As mentioned, we are live with national television coverage on the Golf Channel and global coverage on their partner and affiliate JTBC from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. locally. Stay connected with the tournament from here until the event for all the latest news. Our tournament website is medihillchamp.com. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we love followers, so please follow us at medihillchamp. And share your stories if you have any by using hashtag MediHealChamp. A few additional pieces of information. We do market this event as extremely affordable, especially in the Bay Area. Tickets start as low as $10 per day. Parking is free for the general public and will be located at Westlake Shopping Center, where we will be providing free shuttles to the front gates on Junipero Serra from Westlake Shopping Center daily, Wednesday to Sunday. Public is also encouraged to utilize BART, where shuttles will pick them up from Daly City and Colma stations throughout the week. And then one other quick note is the tournament actually needs over 400 volunteers right now. We're at about 300. We've got 100 to go. It's a great opportunity to get involved, so if anybody is interested in volunteering for the event, please visit our website. And again, thank you so much for having us in to present. Obviously, if there are any questions, happy to answer those, and the LPGA is excited to be here later in the month.
Great, thank you. Great presentation.
Thanks so much.
Miss Manella, you have a question?
I do. Thank you for your presentation. I did want to say it was wonderful to attend last year and see the excitement around and in Daly City, and to see kind of the championship happen. There was a lot of energy there and a lot of diverse folks that came out to see the event. One question I have is, I know that, one thing when you came over and presented last year, you talked about partnerships with nonprofits, and how also that there's partnerships with organizations to give back. One thing I did notice was that it was organizations from San Francisco. So I wanted to know if there's a way to work with organizations, whether it's a youth organization or just other nonprofits within the Daly City vicinity, so that there could be a partnership within the organizations in our city.
No, I think that's an excellent question, excellent point, and hear you loud and clear there. the company that I work for run 9 of these throughout the country, whether it's the PGA Tour or the LPGA Tour, and I think local community partnerships are extremely important no matter where we go. Our partnership has grown this year with the First Tee of San Francisco. We'll be hosting kids throughout the week. We will be making a small donation. I will call out the First Tee of San Francisco does run school programming, I believe, in schools in both San Mateo and Daly City. So we'll continue to invest in our relationship there. Another exciting update that I have in working with Supervisor David Canepa and his team, we identified a group called Pacific Islanders Together, which is a San Mateo-based charity. They're going to be supporting our concession and catering efforts throughout the week.
Excellent.
And basically in lieu of supporting that, there will be a donation made on behalf of the event to them. So we're excited to get them involved. They've been unbelievable to work with and so incredibly enthusiastic. So I think as we continue to ramp up this event, continue to grow in the community, we'll continue to launch those type of partnerships.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that.
Great.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
I really didn't have a comment, but until Councilmember Manalo brought up the issue about our 501c3 organizations, I'm definitely aware of Pacific Islanders Together, and you're going to accomplish a lot with Pacific Islanders Together. For instance, they cook good food. And you'll get a lot of volunteers. So thank you so much. Thank you, Councilmember Manalo, for bringing that point up, because I think it is very important. And you, sir, working with our staff in Daly City and mentioning all the names, I know them all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Ms. DiGiovanni.
Yeah, I actually had the honor when Councilmember Manalo was the mayor last year, and we went to spent the day and saw this young woman, Miss Coe, win, and it was very touching that the very first thing she did, I believe you remember this, was she went to hug her father. That everybody parted the ways, because I think that relationship, you could see how close everybody was, like that team with that photo. I remember the photo, and I remember that the first thing she did was everybody broke away so she could come and hug the father. And the representative from Medihill was very humble and spoke with our mayor, and it was pretty moving. So I could feel the warmth and the togetherness, and we were up in the stands, and there were people from everywhere. And it was nice to hear, oh, they love Daly City. They knew it was Daly City. They didn't even say San Francisco. And to hear that you're working with our PIT, our Pacific Islanders, it's very heartwarming. They'll bring a lot to the table that you'll just love and get attached to. So I thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for recognizing our community, and look forward to our partnership.
Fantastic.
So thank you.
Likewise.
We'll be there again.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions about, we love that you're here, and that hopefully we can continue to do this year after year. I can see this sort of thing being, putting Daly City on the map, if you will. And so I'm grateful, and I think this will be successful again. But I want to make sure that we share in the success, Daly City businesses in particular. And so I'm wondering how much of coordination or outreach have you had with the businesses here, or what sort of efforts?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Another thing, mentioning sort of all of those other communities we go to, we do recognize that this is a community economic impact type event. Obviously, we'll continue to bring folks out throughout the week. I'll note a couple, and I'm sure there's more than just these, but a couple of key examples is we have a great partnership with the owner of Val's. We fill that restaurant each night. We host dinners in there each night. So we'll continue to try business there regardless. The Hampton Inn is another key partner of ours. We actually sell that hotel out through caddies and players throughout the week. Westlake Shopping Center is another partner of ours, parking vehicles there. Obviously supports Westlake Shopping Center, the owners of that lot. So I think those 2 points, and then obviously Westlake Shopping Center would be 3 examples of driving folks into the community, filling restaurants, filling hotels, and we'll continue to partner with other enterprises.
Fantastic. Then you talked about there are volunteer opportunities. So my question is about, are you taking volunteers who are kids? Can kids volunteer for you? And then second to that is, are you able to donate tickets to give to kids who can't even afford the $10 to attend, to sort of encourage them and let them see what a tournament looks like?
Kids under 17 are free,
Okay.
both to volunteer and to come out to the event. That is something that is very important to us, very important to our title sponsor, MediHeal, just supporting that growth of the game of golf, making sure that's an affordable opportunity, that young kids come out and see professional athletes. These golfers are the best women golfers in the world. They're unbelievable. Yes, kids come out for free under 17. There are volunteer opportunities available for kids. I mentioned Standard Bearers is a committee that we have. It's an inside the ropes opportunity in that you're getting up close and personal to the golfers. It's an excellent one. That opportunity exists Thursday to Sunday. Thursday and Friday this time of year are a bit tough. Unless somebody's willing to let their kid play hooky. But yeah, that surely is definitely a motivating factor behind kids under free. The other thing I would note is military veterans and active military with their families are able to come to the event for free with a valid military ID.
Fantastic. Thank you. Very good.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions, Madam City Manager?
No, it's been wonderful to work with, and we really took all of the city's challenges and wishes to heart, as I think the council can see by your presentation. So thank you. Wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Okay, so let's go on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the March 25th, 2019 minutes?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none, those minutes are approved. Let me go on to approve the general agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
objection? Hearing none, the general agenda is approved. Let me go on to the consent agenda. So we have a request to pull item number 2 from Vice Mayor Sylvester. With that exception, any other ones want to be approved, pulled by any council member? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve everything except item number 2?
Motion
to-
okay.
good.
Motion to approve everything but item number 2.
Can I second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none, all those items are approved. Let me go back to item number 2, which is authorization to support the countywide flood and sea level rise resiliency agency and appropriation for funding allocations. Mr. Cosgrove.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. My name is Joshua Cosgrove. I'm the Plant and Equipment Maintenance Manager in the Water and Wastewater Department. And before you tonight, I am presenting a resolution that would support the establishment of the new countywide flood and sea level rise resiliency agency. And it would also agree through that resolution to provide $55,000 per year for 3 years per the proposed funding allocation. Last meeting, Larry Patterson, who was integral to the development of that this proposed agency, delivered a presentation on how it came to be and a lot of the details of it. Tonight, I have with me Erica Powell. She is the Flood Resiliency Program Manager for San Mateo County. She was also integral to the development of this proposed agency. So hopefully if you have questions on that, she will be able to answer those. It's been quite a few years that this proposal has come into being. It really kind of, the activities heated up a couple of years ago, beginning in 2017, when the city county Association of Governments, CCAG, established a water subcommittee. And through that subcommittee, they really developed that proposal and began to present it to the various cities and also the County Board of Supervisors. The CCAG and the Board of Supervisors have adopted resolutions similar to this that is before you tonight in support of this agency. They did that on January 10th and January 29th. From a staff level, one of the things that we were thinking about with this agency, kind of something identified as a potential first use of this agency, is for our Vista Grand project through the sanitation district. That is the construction estimate on that is $93 million. And this agency could potentially help us to find funding for that through grants or other financing options. So that's kind of on a staff level what we're thinking about potentially trying to use this agency for. And that's really my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cosgrove. You kind of answered my question near the end. My concern is putting Daly City in Tier 3 due to population, and I've questioned this before. I'm concerned about just because we have a larger population that we have to pay more when it's highly unlikely that we may have need or use the service. What you made mention about the Vista Grand project, which could be a potential, but there's no guarantees there, and we don't have any, we can't predict the future. And I just want to make sure that on the equity side for our city, there was no other way that a formula could have been devised other than population, maybe in the sense of more possibilities that the fund would be used. For instance, Foster City is utilizing, or they have their own funding for levies, and that was even mentioned in the publication. So that's going to be investigated, how much, since they've already started, and would it behoove them to take part in this? I'm sure we're much stronger together, but I just don't like this. Just because we're a big city, it seems to me that we're penalized. And that's the question I asked when Mr. Patterson was here. So maybe we can get further detail.
Erica, would you like to
help
talk
us
about that?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, I'm Erica Powell with the County of San Mateo's Flood Resilience Program. And yes, I have been involved in from day one on the last summer when we started to pull this proposal together. We looked at different scenarios. We did look at, upland communities versus communities right along the shoreline. We looked at population. We even had population broken up into 5 or 6 different tiers at one time. There was a lot of collaboration that went on regarding how to break up, the costs for this particular phase. This is a temporary situation. The cost for the future, ideally, after 3 years, we'll have a much better model. That's part of the work that we're trying to do. This is just, just a small pot of seed funding to get the operations started. But the idea really to come up with a better funding option of how we split the costs, that's still to be determined. The other thing I wanted to say is that when we went out to the cities and interviewed them twice, all 20 cities and county departments, we asked them what their preference was. And most of them, or a lot of the feedback that we got, was population-based. And it didn't matter pretty much what city said that. They just thought that that was an easier formula to use for this phase. Did I answer your question?
Well, it gives me more towards helping me make a decision. And thank you. I mean, I've seen it, and a lot of other committees within San Mateo County. I don't want to be a naysayer, but at the same time, I just want to ensure equity in some degree or form, especially for Daly City. To me, it seems like we get the short end of the stick most of the time, and I'm here to fight for our city. So that's why I posed the question.
One thing I wanted to, if I can respond to that.
Please.
In terms of equity, what I'm finding, at least on the projects that I'm working on, you've seen the different projects that I'm working on, the projects that are getting most attention in flood and sea level rise and climate change are the communities that are disadvantaged. So that is another thing. If you look at, you're not on the shoreline, but if measure AA, for example, disadvantaged communities, economically disadvantaged communities, EDCs, are a really big part of that grant program. Prop 1 grants, all of these different Prop 84, if you have a disadvantaged community, it actually is an advantage for the collaborative that's working on those projects. That's all I can say about that. It actually is it's a benefit to have, to the project, to have these communities that need it the most.
That helps tremendously. But if one of our neighboring cities has a problem with sea level rise and something should happen, we are not going to refuse them. Whether we're part of this committee or organization, we won't refuse. But I'm concerned about the financial aspect. You said that this is a contract, and we'll find out later on in about 3 years with a better model. And, to put out this kind of money, and I just haven't seen where is this going, or is it going to be put in the fund, invested in case something should happen? I'm just not getting it. We're just looking at an additional expense of close to $165,000 over the next 3 years because we are a larger city, with the exception of also San Mateo. So I appreciate
The services that the agency will be able to provide to all of the cities, and it's really up to each city to decide how much they want to tap into these services. Permitting, for example, that's something that each of us, the county and the cities, we all have to do our own negotiating and trying to coordinate with the permitting agencies. We're all doing this separately. If we do this together, it's not just a stronger voice, but we can leverage each other's relationships with these agencies. Now, in those permitting agencies often are the same ones that are doing the grant funding. So as you develop those relationships, they start to trust you and they see you working together. And that, from what I've seen on the projects that I'm working on over the last 2.5 years, has been, we're building up trust. That's all I can tell you about that.
That's a great point you bring out, and I love the word, you said it, negotiate. So that's basically what I'm doing, is negotiating, because I'm also thinking about who's going to be on the board. And just because we're a larger city, I think maybe we should at least be on the board. But I know that's to come, but it's all about negotiating. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That was great.
Any other question? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the question I have is, I know that it was mentioned around the governance piece in which there would be basically 3 representatives representing kind of the coast side. Is it the southern part of the county, and then central? So what was the thought process on that? Because I know there's other boards that actually, where we pay a fee, and it's population-based, and there's actually a representative from each city.
Yeah.
And then also I see that Samtrans, it's in that matter, we don't pay a fee into that, but then they represent kind of the similar, parts of the county, which is north, central, and south. So with this, what was a rationale? Because I feel, in the same manner, if we're putting money into this, how do we ensure we have representation given we're a large city?
Well, there's actually, there's north, central, and south. And then there's one county board supervisor representing the coast and one representing the bay. And there's one city at large. So theoretically, any of the 4 regions could have 2 representatives. Does that make sense? So rather than, I think, maybe I misheard, but it's not 3 representatives for the coast, but it's actually one region, 1 board member, and then there's 1 at large that could represent any of the regions.
So there's a total of 5 seats?
That's what I'm getting.
5 seats
Yeah.
and 2 board members.
Okay,
from
and 2 board members. So,
the county.
okay, yeah, because I've seen other boards where, it's, for instance, I think it's what the board you sit on for housing, the HEART program, where you get a representative from each city that puts in dollars. So that's why I'm trying to understand why in this scenario, if each city is putting in a certain amount of dollars per population, why was the governance not where there's a representative for each?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. They did discuss 21 representatives, which is just, and then through just numerous conversations, it kept dwindling down to a smaller number. And we actually were down at 5, and then they bumped it up to 7. So it was just discussions with the, CCAG Water Committee and providing their feedback, and then feedback from the cities. The comment regarding having each city represented was heard, but, some of the cities don't have that immediate need. So like some of the smaller upland communities don't have that immediate need, so having 4 seats for them didn't, I don't know. It's different than having those that really have a need, either on the coast or have flooding issues, like, for example, the Vista Grande project. But I don't have a good answer for why we didn't go 21, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Yeah, I guess along those lines, like, who makes that decision on representation?
On the board?
Yes.
So there is a selection process, and I actually don't have the documentation in front of me. It was just breaking the regions was presented to the CCAG board at the last board meeting. I think we could probably provide you with at least the framework that they're talking about and how that's done. The selection right now, from what I understand, is going to be done by the CCAG board. That's
Given the fact that you were saying that what is the primary need first, which as Vice Mayor, I guess he had alluded to it as well, that would probably be the coast, right? So more than likely that they'd be the coast, and then we probably wouldn't be the ones to have a representative. That's the only thing.
well, there's the at-large, right? So there's, I haven't looked at how that, but there's 5 representatives for all the cities, so it could be the 4 regions plus 1 at-large that could
Okay.
represent any of the regions.
Yeah,
So any region could have 2 representatives.
the region will have 2. And we are with the coast, correct? Is that
I
other
think
side?
so.
Yeah, I believe so. And then my second question, or third question would be, okay, so you were talking about the grant funding, so somehow maybe if we took the first initial money, then we would be able to, who is that funding done to, that we would be a grant, the federal government, county government,
I'm
for
sorry.
future funding?
For future funding.
Yeah. In underserved, because we, a lot of underserved communities.
Yes, so the ones I was talking about that have disadvantaged communities, one of the key requirements on the applications are, the state Prop 1 grants, for example, they go through the Coastal Conservancy. I'm trying to think, what else, Measure AA, which is the Wetlands Restoration Grant. Now, Measure A, although it's a restoration, grant that's on the shoreline, If there's a collaborative between, several cities trying to, for example, if you're building resilience in this region and you're part of a collaborative that has a city on the shoreline, you could potentially apply for a Measure A grant. And so that's just a couple of examples of where disadvantaged communities help to have on the grant. So you could literally, even though the project is on the shoreline, having a disadvantaged community that could benefit from a project is a possibility. I'm talking very broadly here, as I would have to actually look at what the makeup looks like.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It helps with the questions. But I would like to hear from other colleagues where they'd like
Go
to.
ahead, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much. Page 17 of the document talks about project profiles. And I just want to reiterate to my fellow council members that they talk about a few cities and to which might be able to take advantage of this. The first one is Navigable Slough, which consists of the area between San Bruno Creek and Toma Creek. And this project brings together the cities of San Bruno and South San Francisco. Then we move south to Belmont Creek, flood management plan. And that will bring together the cities of Belmont and San Carlos. Then we move down further south to the Bayfront Canal and Atherton Channel, which will bring together the cities of Redwood City, Town of Atherton, and Menlo Park. I don't see nothing up here for north for Daly City.
Those are projects, those are memorandums of understanding that are currently underway. They've been, that were signed over a year and a half ago.
Okay.
The new agencies, currently the thought is that the way we work is the cities that want to work together can have a similar MOU, and there will be focus on those projects. But to kind of take a step back a little bit, there is an investment plan that we're going to have to try to develop in the first 3 years, in that first 3-year phase. And that investment plan is going to be done through a process that's going to require outreach to all of the community. So we're going to be spending a lot of time talking to elected officials, to city managers, to staff, and going out to the communities and talking to the residents to ask them what they think is important to them and what projects they feel are important to them. And that's going to go through that's what we're calling the investment plan. So the projects that have already been identified as MOU projects and are going to continue, that's one set of projects. But there are other projects that we know several of the cities are probably concerned about and want to work on and will be brought into this larger investment plan. Because before we go out to to the general public and start talking about sustainable funding for the long term, we actually have to know what we're asking for and why.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
No?
Oh, wait, let's see.
Yeah, so, I think you have all asked some really good questions, and it shows to me a very clear concern over our city and our contribution, and so you're testing a lot of the material and see if it's right for Daly City to be involved in this. I think it is. I think that we cannot lose sight of what the real goal is, and that is to address these issues of climate change, of sea level rising. And it is really to combat this phenomenon. It is a global, it is a group sort of effort that requires us to be together in a united form to combat these real issues. And I think, in the long run, I think Daly City will benefit in terms of as the staff had clearly mentioned, this Vista Grande project is no joke. That is millions and millions of dollars that we need to fix. And if we're not involved in this agency and don't have and are not getting the resources, the experience, the connection, if we're not in that argument, participating in those discussions, I think we're going to miss out on a lot of what we need to solve our Vista Grande problem. I don't think that our voices are not going to be heard in the composition of the governance board. Obviously it's a work in progress with respect to Daly City's representation. I just can't see how us being the city who we are, the voices that we have on this council, that they're going to take us lightly and not relevant to this discussion. We have a lot in terms of our political will, in terms of our desire to change things, and I don't see that stopping. In fact, it's been demonstrated tonight, how we're no pushover and how we are going to ask the questions. And so I'm, if anything, I'm confident that we will have our say, and they know that we're not going to sit idle and let our money go to waste, and that we will take every advantage of the opportunity that presents itself if we get into this system and support this agency. So, it used to be a doom and gloom scenario here in Daly City. Things are looking better. They are becoming, change is here, and it's positive. And to me, this is going forward. To me, this is progressive. This is progress. And we can't be in fear. And I think this is a bold step to get involved in something that, again, it's not a lifetime commitment. And so if we decide later on, after I think it's 3 years, right?
It's 3 years.
We can put it into it. And so now is the time to act, and I'm asking my colleagues to reconsider. Again, I don't know what your votes are going to be, but let's move forward and keep progressing is what I say. Yes, Ms. Manalo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My questions were directed to ensuring that we do have representation, but given the charge of what this group will do, I understand it's about climate change. I understand it's about our future. It's about now, and it's about the generations forward. I understand that very clearly, and my questioning was ensuring exactly that as Daly City, we do have representation, because it's important if we're going to put these dollars. But the issue that's something I am not debating on. I know that climate change is real. I mean, we see it now. I mean, we see it in Daly City. If with the weather, we see it all over the country. We see it globally. I mean, it's something that we should not take lightly. But for me, it's looking at it in a way that I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for pointing out that this is not finalized, and that if after 3 years we do not see kind of a real collaboration even and on our part within the Vista Grande, which is a huge project that I know will benefit not only Daly City, but everyone in general around the need for it, and the neighboring cities and counties around Daly City. So what I would like to see is that in this function of this new commission or whatnot, is that exactly kind of in the same manner the Vice Mayor was saying, that on that list of projects, we do see Vista Grande on there. Because that's something in which I know I've heard in order for us to get larger dollars federally, we need to be a larger solidified voice. But my main concern was ensuring that exactly along the same lines as the Vice Mayor, is that our representation is there. But I see what Mr. Mayor has alluded to, where we are the largest city in San Mateo County, and our voices should be heard. But I wanted to ensure that because, there's other forms of governance where we do have a representation for each. But I think down the line, if it is, where the 93 million Vista Grande project is on that list, it's hugely important to our community. It's been a process for over a decade, and I know that's something that, we've now had the design at 100%, and it's something for that will help, our generations forward. So for me, that was the rationale, and I wanted to let everyone know why I was asking that. But I am supportive of ensuring that we do something about climate change. We have to do something now, so.
Mr. Giovanni.
I just want to say that we all know that things are going faster than what we thought. When you started it years ago, when you were in Foster City, you guys have been working on this for a long time, and in that time, it has gone faster than what we had anticipated. And we do need to work together, locally. And our Vista Grande project is we hope we can keep it moving and keep it in the light of everyone else. And I don't think, as the mayor eloquently put it, that anyone would forget us. It's just that we are working collaboratively to make sure. For a long time, we were, so ignored, we felt over here. But I think we're having this body now that I think we appreciate working partners with Supervisor Pine, yourself, and Mr. Patterson, and we have to take action, because the longer we wait, the more cost, and the costs are the damaging costs for climate change and sea level rise. So I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
It's going to be a synopsis basically from what I've heard, and to include the mayor. Think about the 3 Fs. The first F I heard on this dais was fear. I have no fear. None whatsoever. We know climate change. We know what's happening with climate change. We just don't have a crystal ball to predict when and where it will happen. The second F is what I strive on is a fiduciary to this city. How many other cities within San Mateo County is in the position that we are? That question can't be answered, but I know where Daly City is, so I have a fiduciary responsibility to this city as well. The last F, due diligence will find, and this is what I found out and find. Until tonight, I didn't hear about Vista Grande project and what may happen and possibility where we may get funds. That's part of the due diligence project, which would have been great to have seen in this presentation, so I wouldn't be here trying to argue saying, well, how's Daly City going to benefit? I didn't see that here. And had I saw it, then I would have a different thought on it. I just don't want us to be spending money to in ways we know we need it, just like Hart, and which I'll discuss later on. I know we need it, but I have to be sure via due diligence that this is a well-worthy investment for climate change, for the future, and it's a good thing to get involved in. So that's where I stand. So thank you very much.
Okay,
All
any
right.
other comment or questions?
Can I just say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm from New Orleans. I grew
New
up in New
Orleans?
Orleans.
Yeah, okay.
I grew up in Louisiana. My family's evacuated for hurricanes many, many times, and even just, my family went through Katrina, so this, believe me. We weren't on the coast side, so we didn't have to worry about, that kind of erosion and flooding from the coast side. But our storm drain system, because New Orleans
Right.
is basically a bathtub, when the pumps weren't working, or when the drainage system is very similar to the way it is in Daly City, and it was overflowing.
Wow.
People flooded, and it had nothing to do with a channel, or it didn't have anything to do with the bay side. It was just our storm drain system. So I'm very familiar with your problems. It's basically our problems. We're one county. So just so you know, I have that background, and I know where you're coming from. In this community, the type of flooding that you have, I'm very familiar with it.
Thank you. I needed that. All right.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, so, Madam City Attorney, do you have any questions or comments? No? Okay. All right, so we're at a point where is there a motion to approve item number 2 under the consent agenda?
Motion to approve item number 2.
All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Can we do a roll call?
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Ms. Manalo,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura.
Aye. So let me just say, I thought that was very good. That was you guys were doing your job on this one. Not that you weren't before.
I have to thank the city attorney too.
So, yeah. So I didn't know where this was going to go down. I honestly didn't. And I actually enjoyed this dialogue. And I think it was productive. It's how government should work. The right questions were asked. And I think the right resolution was reached. So I want to thank my colleagues, and job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, let's move on. Item number 7, under public hearings, which is an ordinance regulating priority PCB containing materials during building demolition. Mr. Mandapa.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. This regulation is establishing requirements for building demolition permits to manage building materials that potentially contains polychlorinated biphenyls known as PCB. The ordinance targets selected applicable buildings that may contain relatively highly levels of PCB that were constructed or remodeled from January 1st, 1950 to December 31st, 1980. PCB had been detected with elevated levels in certain sport fish in the San Francisco Bay, and PCB source to the bay need to be identified and controlled. Water quality regulatory agencies within San Francisco Bay region, which is the Regional Water Board, are requiring that Bay Area municipalities address sources of PCB that would be introduced in the stormwater runoff. The goal of the Regional Water Board is to reduce the amount of inputs of PCBs into the bay by identifying certain priority building materials and regulating during demolition of applicable buildings, and preventing the materials and associated PCB from potentially being released to the environment and transported to the bay by stormwater runoff. What are these priority building materials? These are caulking. They're applied around building windows, doors, including expansion joints on walkway of structures. Thermal fiber insulation that are insulated around HVAC systems, around heated transfer piping, and inside walls or crawl spaces. Adhesive mastic that are applied below carpets, floor tiles, under roofing materials, and flashings. Rubber window gaskets that are used in lieu of caulking to seal around windows in steel frame buildings. Screening assessment process of PCB in priority building materials are as follows. Determine whether the building proposed to be demolished was built or remodeled from January 1st, 1950 to December 1st, 1980. If it is it a wood frame structure or single-family residential building? If it is, this demolition project is exempted and PCB screening assessment is complete. Applicant submits screening forms to the building division and demolition permits can be issued. If the building meets the criteria of an applicable building, the process is, will it be completely demolished? If it is, applicant conducts representative sampling of priority building materials or may also use available records of the building specific to the priority building materials. The applicant hires a consulting firm to collect samples and testing. Once test results are available, the applicant submits screening forms to the building division, review to check and conditions of levels of PCB. If the test result shows positive level of PCB at the threshold of 50 parts per million, applicant is required to follow federal and state regulation for remediation and disposal of PCB waste, and demolition permit can be issued. It is anticipated that many projects will not involve the demolition of applicable buildings. For projects that do not involve applicable structure, the fiscal impact to the municipal agency of this regulation could be partially offset by the collection of demolition permit fees as established by City Council. However, if the application for demolition is for an applicable building, there will be additional time incurred by staff to screen the test results of priority building materials for PCB. The review would generally be limited to confirming that PCB in priority building materials screening and assessment was conducted per the instruction in the application package. Staff will document any shortcomings in the application and certain that they are addressed by the applicant before application for demolition permit is approved. It is estimated that an average of 2 hours of staff time will be required to coordinate, review, and approve the application for projects that involve applicable structures. The building division will provide the applicant a pre-demolition checklist that provides instruction on what are needed to be accomplished before a demolition permit can be issued. This checklist was updated to include the requirement of PCB screening and assessment. Once a demolition permit is issued, the best management practices will be enforced by the Department of Public Works and the Department of Water, Wastewater Resources, checking that erosion control are in place that will contain and not introduce debris or sediments to the public way, and storm drains, inlets will be protected. This concludes my presentation for PCB ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Vandenbart. Any questions? Questions? Okay, let me open the public hearing on this item. I don't have any speaker cards, so can I get a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Let me go to a motion for the city attorney to read by title only.
This is an introduction. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Daly City, adding Chapter 15.70 regarding management of PCBs during building demolition projects. Next action is for an introduction of the ordinance.
Who would like to introduce the motion?
I'll introduce the motion.
So, okay, Ms. Giovanni will introduce the motion. We done? We're done. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go on to item number 8, which is the second reading of ordinance 1427 regarding the zone text amendment 17.34. Ms. Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. This item came before the City Council in a first reading of the ordinance number 1427. This is the second reading to repeal and replace Chapter 17.34.02I of Chapter 17.34 regarding schedule of parking requirements. And the recommended action is to adopt the ordinance by roll call.
All right, any questions or comments? Mr. Vice Mayor.
I'm kind of lost. Is this a new ordinance for parking requirements? In other words, it seems like it's to reduce the amount of parking, or we're adding parking? I'm a little unsure.
This was in respect to the project that came before the City Council regarding a resolution. I will defer to the ECD director on that.
So this was related to the church that was located at 45 County. So they were applying for a use permit to expand their church. Unfortunately, with the strict interpretation of the zoning ordinance, they wouldn't have met the parking requirement. So they applied for a zone text amendment that would allow for ancillary uses within the church to not count towards their parking requirement with up to 2,500 square feet. So the council did take that action to approve that ordinance change at the last meeting.
So is this ordinance separate than getting a use permit to proceed? Because I think there were conditions on that.
Correct. So the zone text amendment isn't conditioned because that's a law that will apply citywide to all churches and assembly type uses. The use permit applies to the church at 45 County, and there were special conditions, particularly regarding to outreach to one of the neighbors that came to speak on the project.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments? No? Can I get a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Aye.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Aye. All right, thank you. Let's go on to public appearances, oral communications. We have Marion Mann. Ms. Mann.
Good evening.
Evening.
I had an unusual experience last week, and I thought I'd come to you and ask you what's going on. In my apartment building, the fire truck came, from Daly City, etc. I don't know what the problem was. But then there was a truck from San Bruno, a fire truck, and I couldn't figure out why San Bruno would be there. So I stopped at the station later because I'm curious, and I asked them, how come San Bruno's there? And they said, oh, no, they weren't there. And I told him about the truck, and he said, oh, yeah, well, we have a couple of trucks that are having a problem. He says, these trucks, they have this problem when they're carrying 38,000 pounds around, they have problems. And he says, and two of ours, so the city negotiated with San Bruno that they'll loan us this truck while we get the other one, until we get enough money to take care of the other one. And I thought, I don't understand. And I said, what do you mean by that? He says, well, it's replacing 95. He says, we have to have this truck in order to reach the altitudes and such that we need, and we have to have it from somewhere. So we're arranging with San Bruno to be able to use theirs. And I thought, that's awful. Why? I mean, I understand that Truck 95 was put out of service. But when I actually saw this, where it was needed, and it wasn't there, I'm curious why. What happened to Truck 95 if it's needed? So I thought maybe one of you could answer me. Thank you.
I don't have the answer to that. I certainly will look into that. I know that cities do loan on occasion their equipment. I do not know about that particular truck, San Bruno truck, but I'm happy to look into that. You bet.
But Marianne, you bring up a very good point about engine 95, though. I mean,
It's the replacement
Yeah.
95 that we had to borrow.
I know. And I'm just saying, I want to thank you because engine 95, we are all thinking about that and the need that what we must do and what our firefighters are dealing with and the heroic things that they're doing and what happened during that last budget cycle. So there's more to come. That story has not ended, in our opinion. And so, absolutely.
You know, I thought there was no problem taking 95 out.
Yeah.
And then I saw,
Yeah.
that's.
All right. Thank you, Marianne. Gail Montalbano. Go. Thanks.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council.
Evening.
I am representing the homeowners on Olsesi Court and my good neighbors, the Millers. And our main concern is why are so many residential permits being issued in Daly City? So I have the following questions, and I'm going to read them off to try to get through the 2-minute. One, when residential permit additions are issued, why is the construction site not monitored more closely and more frequently? 2, why are so many individuals allowed to live in a single residential home? This impacts parking, ecological resources, i.e. water, garbage emissions. 3, why are residential front yards allowed to be severely weed overgrown and also fire hazards during summer and fall? 4, why are cars allowed to park on front lawns and crosswise in single-car driveways? 5, why are permits not posted on residential construction sites so that neighbors are aware of the contractor and can contact the contractor with any questions or problems that arise? And 6, to conclude, all of the above makes for less safe and less friendly and less clean Daly City, which we love our city. I respectfully request from all of you that the city would respond in the near future to my questions of whys. I thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Maltby, I'm sure will respond to all your questions, and I'm sure she has your contact information. Thank you. All right, we have no other speaker cards. Let me go on to appointments. Any appointments? Oh, just in time. I don't have any, no appointments. Okay, let me go on to reports. Under council committee reports, who has a committee report?
I'm sure they do.
Anyone?
Council committee.
Ms. Manal? No? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I have a few, but I can wait.
Go ahead, Ms. Manal.
Council, I have a city council report.
Let's still with council committee. Ms. Di Giovanni, go ahead.
Okay, so I attended the SFO roundtable, and actually, they've been working on these issues for a number of years, and they actually finally got a breakthrough. And thanks to Congresswoman Jackie Spear, who wrote a pretty strong letter and addressing to the airlines and communicating with them according to the air traffic. And there's been a lot of issues on it. There's a new thing out that's finally been approved called a hush. So this is actually making movement according to the SFO roundtable. Many of them have been working on these issues, and my predecessor, Vice Mayor, was on there prior, and he knows that this is actually a breakthrough. And we are still forming a departure subcommittee, which will consist of San Bruno, Brisbane, South City, Daly City, and Pacifica, because that's mainly where our issues are, so we can focus on our personal issues over here in certain neighborhoods because of the way the flight patterns are changing, even though the gentleman came and said there would be no impact. So when we went to the meeting at the SFO roundtable, obviously it will impact us slightly, but it still is a slight that we don't want, but the other cities we also have to consider. So it was a strong impact in Millbrae, strong to some Brisbane partners, and they have traffic coming from Oakland. So we're trying to get the Oakland to do a different pattern where it doesn't interfere with the SFO, because it's been a big issues where in the same flight pattern, it's pretty busy. So a lot of questions were asked, like, is this a concentration of profits versus air traffic? Is this what's driving the times that we have so many air traffic at the same time? So I was sitting with Foster City, Brisbane, and Millbrae, and others. So we were pretty much on the same table. So there's movement, so we keep pushing. Anyone that has those issues, please contact me, and I will bring forth the issue, or they can come for public comment. I also attended the Grand Boulevard Initiative meeting.
Did any airline get a
Oh, yeah.
quiet award?
But this is very interesting. So that brings up a good fact. So they were passing out awards by the airport to several airlines to get a quiet, they got recognized for being quiet. So we all just sat there, and actually, they didn't even show up, except for one. It was called Interjet. Interjet is Mexico. They're the only ones that showed up for the award. And there used to be representation years ago of airlines on our SFO roundtable, but there is no longer that. So we all rallied and said, well, if they're going to be a part of this, then they need to be here, because we need to address these issues, and then we need to get down to the points and have them come and be a part of that SFO roundtable again. So there was a lot of push from the representatives in other cities, and it was pretty amazing that they actually got awards. So, and the FAA federal people got up and applauded, but none of us applauded. So we're not really happy about that one, but we can move on to that one. I attended the Grand Boulevard Initiative. I'm the alternate on there for Rod. Dr. Rod, our council member. It was spring week for his children. So actually, I've been there as a community member before. So the Grand Boulevard Initiative originally started, they did a big projects mainly in Daly City, and we did benefit from many things that they did. So now they're trying to make a decision, where do we go now? They made a lot of accomplishments throughout the Mission Corridor, El Camino Real, and TOD, where the transit-oriented development, but they are trying to figure out, do they continue as they are now? Are they going to create a new board? How's it going to go? So they gave presentations that were interrelated, the county did, when we did our walk audit for the schools, and our county with our Richard Chu and other representatives about the pedestrian issues that we have in Daly City, and how we did receive a grant from the county to address us. So we were the very first city, also Vice Mayor and our colleagues know, to sign on to our Vision Zero as well. And so they discussed that for a bit, but they will be making up their mind, and the next meeting will be in June. So the rest of my report will deal with activities that I attended, but I turn it over to Vice Mayor or Councilwoman Manalo. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two to report on. I made mention during our earlier meeting regarding the HEART program, Housing Endowment and Regional Trust. As you may well know, Daly City was part of that program, and they left. And I was an advocate to bring that program back to Daly City. HEART is a program to which it helps first-time home buyers buy a home. And based upon population, we had to pay a little bit more. But the question is, are we getting any benefit out of it? Well, I'm glad to report that many of the loans that were obtained through HEART came from North County. And it makes all the sense. If how many can afford a home down south? And I won't name any cities. But up here in North County, you can. A concern that I had was San Francisco, and you probably read in the news, $117,000 a year income is considered, you're considered low income. To qualify for the HEART program, which you put 3% down, and HEART will put down the rest, you could not be making as a family no more than $150,000. And the maximum price of a home that you can buy is $750,000. Now, that's still difficult, isn't it? Well, I am so happy to report that Hart reviewed this, and now they've increased. The family can make up to $170,000, and you can now buy a home up to $908,000, and that was approved by the board. And if Daly City was not a part of that program, whether you live in San Francisco and want to come and buy a home in Daly City, no matter where you're from, you sure can. So I'm happy to report that Hart has increased those loan limits and income maximums. The other committee I sit on is the San Mateo Office of Emergency Services. And here they talked about the budget. And as again, because of our population, we pay more. So I had to inquire. There's a new hazmat unit that has been developed down south between Belmont and San Carlos. But it's a big fee. And guess who's paying part of that? Daly City. So I beg the question. So what I've been told, if there's a hazmat issue in our city, these folks will respond up to our city. That is good to know, because hazmat is something specialized and it is different. I've been in one of those suits and you can't last in there for no more than 30 minutes. My hat's off to them. So I'm proud to say the budget was passed and Daly City's in good hands. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any other, Ms. Manalo?
I don't have any council committee reports, but I do have city council reports.
Yes,
if I
go
may.
ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do want to share with everyone that I was able to attend PALA, the Asian Pacific Labor Alliance event. Also, Councilwoman DiGiovanni was there. Also attended the CERT pancake breakfast for emergency preparedness at the Franciscan. Also, that same evening, there was a fundraiser for the school Franklin D. Roosevelt, which is a kindergarten through 8th grade school at the borderline of Daly City and Pacifica. Also attended the progress seminar with Mr. Mayor Vivian Ventura, also Vice Mayor Glenn Sylvester over the past weekend, in which one of the guest speakers was our Congresswoman Jackie Spear, who talked about her new book, Undaunted, and was really around her personal story of resilience. Progress Seminar held its 50th anniversary around bringing together business, government, community, in which really you saw different corporations there. You saw labor organizations. Also, our city manager was there in attendance. Also, I wanted to share with the community that speaking with City Ventures, the one developing the area by Cerebral, they are amenable to keeping the Cerebral sign and donating it to the Daly City History Guild Museum. So that's something that I know, Mr. Mayor, you requested, and they are open to do so. And so I know many of you have had fond memories there, bowling and lots of singing and parties when you're a young child and so forth. And so you want to ensure that that's retained. Also, given that it's a new development, one very, unfortunately, a community advocate and community hero of ours passed away about 2.5 years ago, Alice Bulos, who's really an advocate for all. She was appointed by President Clinton on the Federal Commission on Aging. And the City Ventures is amenable to naming one of the streets Alice Bulos Way. And so I spoke with a grandson, and he was, he said he's deeply humbled, and he knew that his grandmother would probably be extremely humbled and probably wouldn't want to see that, and that's just who she was. But I wanted to share that with the community.
Councilmember Manalo, that is exactly how Tita Alice would have felt. She would have, she's so humble, and she's so, you called it right on. So I'm grateful that that is something that they're going to consider doing. I think it's wonderful. And I also think that what you did about the sign, the Sarah Bowles sign, that's an iconic sign in Daly City. And I think your request to have that brought to our history museum, I think is tremendous. I think they would accept it. And hopefully it's not too big that they could fit it through the door or something. Huh? Yeah. There you go. So, thank you. Yes. Ms. Di Giovanni.
Okay, in attendance for the, some of the events with the councilwoman, I want to say that when we went to the CERT, and also our vice mayor had been there earlier at the Franciscan, it was amazing to see that they were really prepared. They took us into the place where they have generators, and they have all the equipment. They went out and purchased this, because the gentleman that was here, he was a former nurse, ICU nurse. So these people really are ready, because they are asking us to be ready. Our police and fire for 7 days is really what we need to be ready for. And they were well prepared. And that was very impressive at the Franciscan Mobile Park, so hopefully we could see more of that. And the FDR, when we went there, and our President Clayton Koo of the school board was there with her and I, it was very moving that the principal, they did a fundraiser for the school, and it was packed with parents, and because they want their kids to go to these schools, and these public schools are great, but they're suffering. They got a cut of $53,000 just for that one school. That one school. So they're looking at like what program they're gonna have to cut, and then because of the lack of state funding. So please keep them in mind. And probably one of the most humbling events that I attended, along with the Millers out here, and he is a former veteran as well, and some other Daly City people were there, was the 77th anniversary of the Bataan Death March. It's the 75th anniversary of the Battle of the Light Gulf. They were honoring Chester Nimitz, and as well as Filipino and American veterans. And in attendance was the Consul General Henry Brasurto from the Philippines, also the Consul General from Mexico as well, and many, many dignitaries that our VFW, our local VFW was participant, was one of the supporters. And Cecilia, as we all know her, she was the executive director. It was stunning, amazing, moving. I don't know, I know that Mrs. Miller and I had to put our sunglasses on because it was pretty tearful but moving. And Rosie Tejada's father was there because he was one of the only survivors of the Bataan March itself. And so to see those gentlemen sit there and our World War II veterans, they honored all the missing in actions. And I want to say that in the Philippines, I believe this number is 45,000 is missing in action at this particular moment during World War II. That is stunning. So we need to remember when, if the mayor would do so, I didn't write it on the list, can we remember the 45,000 in the Philippines that are still missing in action along with our other veterans?
Of course.
I would really, it would be honored to do so. And to watch the hill as the flags and the colors come in, you see the American flag, you see the Filipino flag, you see the color guards as they walk in up over that hill with complete silence, and they had arranged a flyover at the same time. It was a reminder, as Mr. Miller, well, I heard him say, freedom is not free. And as we stand here, we have veterans in our police force, firefighters in our city, and we need to take a moment and remember. And I know that Councilwoman has done past work a lot with our World War II Filipino veterans. Totally humbling, and that one of the stories that was told, if you don't mind me saying this, the Filipino held at bay for almost 5 months while the Americans were able to organize on the World War II ground for this baton and all these battles. And then out in the ships was the Australians, Mexico, the Philippines, all of us together. But it was the Filipino veterans. So my new thing is, I wouldn't be here. People were laughing. I told the Consul General, I have to say this out loud, if not for the Filipinos. So I was very humbled, and next year she'll be in touch with us, and I hope it doesn't coincide so we can all be there together, because many of them may not be here next year, but we hope that they maintain their health and blessings, and it was the Army Band, and hopefully that they'll be able to give you feedback. It was pretty incredible. So to Cecilia, to our veterans, to our Filipino friends, thank you, because we all know that they sacrificed a lot. So I'll close with that one. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to give a shout out to our Daly City Fire Department. Besides putting out fire, what do they do best? They cook. So they
the pancakes.
They cook the pancakes at the Sir Pancake Breakfast. But when I was there, I had already had my pancakes before they got there. So I'd like to give a shout out to the fire. We had a meeting with Senator Weiner on a few updates. And I had the opportunity to attend the NAACP 93rd anniversary dinner celebration, to which I got to hear the Honorable Willie Brown speak and talk about his life story. And then I'd like to give a shout out to Supervisor David Canepa for his event, District 5 Census Counting, which happened last week. And everybody knows I don't miss out on food. So at this event, Supervisor Canepa, you show up, they give you tickets, and you choose anything you want to eat, and it's free. And as a result, I've learned that Supervisor Canepa has already allotted close to $10,000 for events in our city at Jefferson High School. So it was a great event. Thank you for Supervisor Canepa for always thinking about us and never forgetting Daly City. It's been a busy 2 weeks, folks, and just glad to be here and just going out and representing. At the District 5 event, we had mayors from San Bruno, council members and mayors from San Bruno, Colma. You also had the entire council there as well. I wasn't the only one, so it was a good time to be had by all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Any other ones?
Councilwoman.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
We
forgot
forgot
two
one.
items. Council member Giovanni and I were able to stop by and at Dojo Senior Center for the volunteer appreciation. And that is also such a special event to see all of the all the volunteers that give their time and effort, and the statistics are there of how much hours they give to our community, whether it's at the Lincoln Community Center or at the Dolger Cafe or Senior Center. And it was just always a delight to see each and every one of them. That's their special day. I'd like to thank the staff for putting that together and really appreciating the countless hours our seniors and others that give back to the community. Also, in line with Vice Mayor, it was an amazing event at Supervisor David Canva's District 5 Together, and most especially for me, seeing how it was highlighted around Daly City. The DJ Mobile movement was really birthed in Daly City. And there was, instead of young kids getting into trouble, they really used music as a way to get together. And there was this era where there were so many young people. I don't know if you remember that there'd be garages filled with music and turntablism, and it was really an era where there was positivity around not having kids, and during that time, that's where a lot of gang violence had happened. But also another part of it is where young kids moved towards music as a way to gather and just be around something positive. And a lot of those became world-renowned DJs that travel all around the world, and they're from Daly City. And out of love, they had careers. And so they go all over to Japan, to Russia. And you know what? They're homegrown, and that's something extremely special to share, that these are the young kids that have now provided an impact into pop culture.
Okay, we have the Vice Mayor who forgot a couple of things. Go ahead.
It's been busy. It's been busy. Thank you to our city attorney. He's looking at me, oh man, what's he going to say? We tried to follow and do everything correctly, so it was noticed. The whole entire council had a meeting with our Congresswoman, Jackie Spear. And she spoke with us about her thoughts. And her thoughts, I took a few notes. Section 8 housing is shrinking. She wants to make sure that stays available. She also spoke about renting and a rent gouging ordinance where landlords raise rent and just basically gouging. So that might be in the works. She also, a question was asked about disabled families. How can we help them? And she gave us a few resources on that as well. One of her top priorities, as has been in Daly City, is the saving of Seton Hospital. She gave her thoughts on that as well, and even came up with a few ideas that should something happen at Seton, then what we've already done to be aware of. But I'm not going to spill all the beans. Stay tuned, because we do have updates on that. Then a question was asked about getting our younger folks who are turning 18 by I think it's the general election, that they can vote at 17 and a half in the primary, providing that they'll be 18 by the general. I think Assemblymember Mullins' bill is up on that. She talked about her interaction at Dolger Center, to which some folks approached her regarding the intersection of John Daly, and she didn't have the cross street, but they were concerned about safety. She also talked about Jefferson School and collecting, maybe coming up with something about vaping. Is it John Muir? Thank you, Marianne. So that's John Daly and John Muir? Joe's,
What street is that on?
That's
Lake Merced.
Lake Merced Boulevard. Okay. Oh, so you're aware of that? So I am telling the truth, huh?
Yes.
All right. Good. Thank you. Okay. And then kids are now getting more involved into vaping. So they think, she made mention, maybe we should collaborate with the school district to and Daly City, since we're considering cannabis, maybe to collect more fees for vaping. Issues. Gun control, affordable housing, this is what we brought to her attention. Federal grants for small business, SBIR grants and programs. And we thanked her for her support on the airport roundtable with the letter that she wrote, and veterans, and that's all I have. So I'm sure any one of my council members may have more, but it was a very, very productive meeting with our Congresswoman, and that was very good. Okay. I'm sure Councilmember Manalo will chime in on this. We had a meeting regarding the Bay Shore revitalization project. I'm sure you all heard of a pending bill, but besides that bill, we are always thinking of what we are going to do in that area. We own a small piece of plot over there in that area, and affordable housing is our top priority. So we had a meeting on that, and we discussed that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Manalo, do you have another one?
Oh, no.
okay.
I'm done.
Mine is short.
Finished.
Mine's really short. We're reminding each other. I just want to say thank you to our police officers. They were at the CERT, and they also were at the volunteerism. Wastewater volunteered at the Dolgers, and Public Works, all the departments were there. It was, fire was there. So everybody you can imagine, and they were really having a good time, like serving the seniors, and just like it was nice. Our chief was over there serving, especially that nice dessert. So this city is a city, but it's a great community. So it was really nice to see that. So we can continue that on. So that's it, finally.
Okay, Ms. Manalo, go
Okay,
ahead.
I do have one more. I usually list everything out, but I just wanted to say that Jessica Cox, she was a woman that was born with no arms.
Was moving.
And she actually came to Daly City and got her book signed and to meet young people. And she actually became a pilot.
Yes.
She is the first, she's in the Guinness World Book where she actually is the first pilot with no arms. It's extremely inspirational. She finished her college degree. She is willing to come back and become an inspirational speaker. And she actually did a TED Talk. Also, she went and did that. And so it was great to hear that she spoke at the Daly City Rotarians to practice her speech, but she's willing to come back and speak to the younger generation and basically say there's no limits to anything that you want to do. So.
Okay. Anybody else? No? All right, let's go on to number 11, staff report.
Dare I extend this meeting? I have to, just a couple of things. So as Councilmember Manalo stated, I did attend the Progress Seminar this last weekend, and I found it incredibly valuable. It was my first time at that seminar, and it was not only a really wonderful networking experience, but the panels were really interesting because cities are facing a lot of issues like housing and crime and transportation. And a theme throughout the seminar was, regionalism, and we need to kind of look at things differently and have a joint effort in some of these big issues. So I thought that was a good seminar. I have to also say that the District 5 event was amazing. It was even sunny out, and thank you, Supervisor Canepa, for feeding me that day. I had a wonderful tamale. And last but not least, I'm thrilled at the idea that the Cerro Bowl sign will be preserved because I met my husband there. And we are celebrating 20 years in October. So if it's at the History Museum, we will be there on a date, I promise. And if for some reason it doesn't land at the museum, I might find a place for it. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Okay, I think that's all we have. We're going to go into adjourn in memories. Let me start with Ms. DiGiovanni. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first one I'd like to close the memory of is Linda Reyes. She is the wife of Raymond Reyes. And should I continue with my list? Okay. And then I would also, within 24 hours, we have lost 3 of fire department in New York firemen that were on 9/11 responding and now have passed with cancer. And remember that our first responders and their fire department in New York, firefighter Kevin Lennon, that's from ladder 175, firefighter O'Neill, ladder company 5, and also we also have one of the, I believe the other one that succumbed, I just got the message tonight, so I'll be able to close in his memory next time. I would also like to close the memory of 23-year-old, sadly. His name is Steve Histaki, also known as Skeevy. Skeevy actually grew up in our Bayshore area. He was a member of our Boys and Girls Club, and he grew up on Rio Verde. He was a member of our Daly City Stars football program and Camp Unity. He was a graduate of Sacred Heart. He loved to dance, laugh, and love. So it was with sadness and grief with Shannon, Cindy, Dorothy, Foe, Hamilton, Reno, Heather, Harmony, and the rest of that community, Imani, that we grieve his loss. At 23 years old, he's gone too soon. So with that, thank you.
Mr. Sylvester.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to first start off with Ms. Socorro Madalora Paredes Cristobal. She is the mother of a very good friend who works at the San Francisco Sheriff's Department. Next is William Billy Avon, and to kind of segue to our city manager in meeting at the bowling alley, Mr. Avon kept me out of trouble when I used to hang out at Castle Lanes. He later became a deputy sheriff, and when I entered law enforcement, I would pass by him and see him driving the big white bus, and I kind of nod at him, and we knew what that nod was for, so he used to do the transport of the prisoners. May he rest in peace. And lastly, Sergeant Steve Lycon, badge number 13348, was recently killed in the line of duty by a DUI drunk driver while he was on duty. So may he also rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, with all those and including the 45,000 veterans that Mr. Giovanni spoke about at the Baton Death March, we are adjourned. Thank you.